the scientific formula for the emergence of new species of living beings. Where did humans appear? Darwin argued that humans evolved from the animal kingdom. Opponents of Darwin's teachings pointed out that a complete and sufficient picture of the transition from great apes to humans has not been found. Sufficient fossil remains have not been found that could confirm this transition. If such remains existed, where did they go? A complete picture of the fossil remains of transitional modifications between stable animal species has not been found either. The answer is that the stages of transition from one biological species to another and up to modern humans occurred quite quickly. As a result, fossil remains could not accumulate sufficiently in such a short periods of time on a historical scale. But this transition required special conditions of availability free space. In the block Leaps of Evolution, I gave the answer about the reasons of these conditions. Now, I will derive the formulas of the required free space S large for the formation of a new species and the time T large during which new species of living beings were created. It is known that under favorable conditions organisms reproduce in geometric progressions. I calculate that between the two adjacent stable species there is a certain number of genetic hereditary changes, and stable species are species that, under specific real conditions, can exist for a long time in the fight against other species without a significant decrease in the number of individuals of this species. In addition, there is a permanent number A large is equal to constant, and it, I think, is the same for all living beings. It determines the number of living beings A large necessary for the passage of one genetic hereditary change in one of any A large living beings in the natural state. We introduce time T small. This is the time required for the reproduction of one modified individuals or a pair of individuals to the number A large individuals. That is, after time T small, the number of modified individuals, mutants, reach such a number when the following genetic hereditary change occurred in one of them. Hence, the time for the formation of a new species is T large is equal to T small multiplied by n. That is, under favorable conditions, the time for the formation of a new species T large is equal to the product of n, the number of gene changes necessary for the formation of new species, multiplied by the time T small, the time required for reproduction from one pair of individual to the number A large of individuals. That is, the time during which one genetic hereditary change takes place. Or, in other words, the modified species will reproduce n times from one individual's or pair to the number a large of individuals in geometric progression. During this time, and genetic hereditary changes will take place in the intermediate species and a new stable species will be formed. To form a new species, a free area S large will be required, which is equal to S large is equal to S small multiplied by A large in the n power degree, where S small is the area required for the life of one individual or pair. A large in the n power degree will be the number of mutants of all stages when in the end a new stable biological species can be created. The free area must be sufficient to accommodate all the modified individuals, which will reproduce throughout the entire T large time in geometric progression. I do not question Charles Darwin's theory, but in the picture described by Charles Darwin, evolution could have proceeded according to very complex schemes. The time required for the passage evolutionary changes would have been much longer, perhaps 100, 1,000, or even 1,000,000 times longer. Where could such large free area used in my proof come from? They could only have existed when the Earth was not yet inhabited, or formed after catastrophes that took place on Earth. Without the availability of free areas, evolutionary changes would have been significantly delayed. In my blogs, you can also learn that catastrophes accelerate qualitative development. Biological evolution of man has ended and cannot continue. Evolution proceeds somewhat differently than discovered by Charles Darwin. Scientific explanation of the absence of fossil remains of transitional species of living beings. Reasons for stopping biological evolution of higher organisms. Catastrophes create free space that are necessary for biological evolution. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe to my blogs. You will receive more and more new information.